menopause, weight gain, and hormonal fluctuations for us women. Um, it's a real thing, right? Some of us women have fluctuations during our menstrual cycle. We know exactly when we're going to get our menstrual cycle because the scale goes up, right? Our cravings go up. We crave chocolate, and when we go through, say, a pregnancy or even puberty, right? Puberty, we start to gain weight. And with every hormonal fluctuation, we gain weight. Some of us do. I know I did. And then when I got into after I had my pregnancy, I started to get PCOS and I had fibroids. And it seemed like my body just changed metabolically. It was not the same body after 3 pregnancies without each consecutive pregnancy. And, I had to work very, very hard to keep my weight under control. And it was just really tough. And then when I got into my late 30s, I started having hormonal issues. I started going through perimenopause. I never could get any answers from any doctors. It was maybe I was about 30 something. And believe it or not, I had a fibroid. In hindsight, this is what I found out. I had to go to 3 different doctors. I was bleeding for a whole year. Sorry, TMI. But I had a consistent cycle for a whole year. And every doctor, every gynecologist that I went to couldn't find the real reason why I was continuing on my cycle. It was horrible. Clots were coming out. I mean, at the time I had to wear a white uniform. I had to take 2 sets of uniforms to work, and I had to push a big heavy machine, and I had to push it uphill in the hospital. And every time I pushed that heavy machine up the hospital, the blood just would gush out of my body. And this went on for about 6 to 12 months. And basically what happened was I started getting to anemia. And so I went to the 3rd doctor, and I was crying. I said, you really need to find out what's wrong with me. I cannot live like this anymore. So finally, he did and I had ultrasounds on my stomach, ultrasounds, and they would say, yeah, we see fibroids and whatnot, but we don't see anything that's wrong. Meanwhile, I'm bleeding, and I start getting these hot flashes, and I'm crying all the time, and I'm anemic, and I can't get out of bed on the weekends, and I was going through a lot of emotional problems. My mother was sick, my aunt and uncle were sick. I had core family members that were going on through health crisis. I had a teenager at the time. My daughter was a teenager at the time, and she was driving me crazy. And I was a single parent, and it was horrible. I was working 2 jobs, and I was trying to go to school at night, and I had a lot of stress on my shoulders. And basically, I said to this doctor, I said, you have to find out what is wrong with me. I said, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to, blow my brains out or something, because I was at the end of my rope. So he did a hysteroscopy, and he went inside, and he found that there was a big pendendicular fibroid that was hanging inside of my uterus, that was going like this, that was causing my cycle to continuously go on, continue to release the egg, and it would bleed continuously. And I had a transvaginal ultrasound. It could not be seen by regular ultrasound. So we did a DNC, a myoectomy, and this, what you call a transvaginal ultrasound. and then a removal of the tissue and stuff like that, the fibroid. And he said the fibroid was so large that he had to be careful because he didn't want to nick my bowel wall. And I guess it was about 3 days later, and then everything stopped, and I never had any issues again with bleeding. And that was a very difficult time for me. Very, very difficult. But it took me three gynecologists, and I was going out of my mind. I was out of my mind, you know. That was a whole year of suffering, and it took me three doctors. Three doctors. It was a horrible period in my life.